What's up, heathens? Today we're going to talk about diabetes.
It would have been easy for Kyle and his family to doubt God's love in such a hard time.
Wait, why are we discussing doubting God's love when it's a video about a disease that, according to your scriptures, would have been given to the kid by God? Today's video is going to be a little bit different because it does hit home for me. I am a type 1 diabetic. I've been one for about 12 years, and this kid, Kyle, was just recently diagnosed with it.
Hi, my name is Kyle and I'm 12 years old. I like to draw, do sports, play with action figures or shoot hoops.
Kyle is a very nice boy. He likes to play with you and he'll be kind with you if you're kind with him.
I like to draw a lot of animals. I like to draw dragons and sharks, and I like to draw anime. When I grow up, I want to be an athlete or an architect or an engineer.
That's awesome, Kyle. I definitely would be leaning more towards the engineer, mainly because bias reasons. But all of those things are awesome goals to have in life. Just because you have diabetes doesn't mean that you can't be a professional athlete. I specifically point out the athlete here because of how diabetes operates and affects your body. Diabetes affects the way our bodies process glucose and sugar, same thing really, and provide us with energy so that we can do a whole bunch of things like run, play, and stay conscious. You see, when you have diabetes, your pancreas stops producing, or produces very little, insulin. Another potential cause for diabetes is insulin resistance, which is where insulin is still produced, but your body doesn't really use it. You see, what sucks for me is that my pancreas doesn't produce insulin, and I'm insulin resistant. Our bodies, and specifically our brains, run on glucose, which is a sugar compound. We get glucose by consuming food or drinks that have carbohydrates in them, which most foods, even vegetables, have. Glucose is transported all throughout our bodies via our blood, and insulin is the hormone that allows the glucose to transfer from our blood to our organs and tissues. When we don't have enough insulin in our bodies, the blood glucose level actually raises to unhealthy levels. But here's how they explain diabetes.
Before we hear more from Kyle, let's find out what exactly diabetes is. Diabetes means you have too much sugar in your blood.
No, it doesn't mean that. That's a symptom of diabetes and not actual diabetes.
When you eat food with sugar, some of it ends up in your blood.
All of the glucose ends up in your blood to be transferred throughout your body. Not all of it is transferred to your organs via insulin. Diabetics that suffer from high glucose levels end up urinating out the extra glucose in their system. This, however, damages your kidneys and will ultimately cause a lot of other problems in the future. So it's very important for you to, get your blood glucose level under control.
And normally, your body has a pretty cool way of moving that sugar from the blood into your cells.
Why can't you just say insulin here? That's the hormone that moves the sugar or glucose from your blood to your organs. Insulin.
That gives you energy to run, walk, jump, and play. But when you have diabetes, your body can't move the sugar into the cells, so it stays in the blood, and that makes you sick.
It doesn't make you sick instantly like you seem to imply here. Just because a diabetic has a normal glucose reading does not mean that they are no longer sick or they no longer are diabetics. Currently, there is no cure for diabetes. We manage our diabetes through very specific regimens that are tailored to each individual person.
You can't catch diabetes from a friend like you can catch a cold.
Why would you even say this part? Of course this disease isn't like mono or the common cold. Although I will admit one time that I tricked a friend into thinking that I accidentally slept with the wrong person and got diabetes. I made sure afterwards to explain to him how it's more of a genetic thing and, being overweight can cause it sometimes. I made sure that he knew that those were the actual causes of it. For me, I was a tad overweight at the time, and my dad and other people in my family had diabetes, so it was a combination of the two factors. Diabetes has a number of symptoms related to it. Kyle's story here actually highlights some of the biggest signs that you may be diabetic or pre-diabetic.
I remember one day I was out with some friends playing, and I started to get really tired, and I just wanted to go eat, and I was really thirsty. So we came home, and then I was sitting on the couch all day for like 2 days in a row. I lost 10 pounds in a week.
I told Paul to kind of look at Kyle. He looks a little bit skinny.
I think he only weighed 70 pounds to start with at that time, so he went from like 70 to 60 in less than a week.
He was just not himself.
Kyle came into our room in the middle of the night, and he had mentioned that he has been going to the bathroom a lot lately.
That's true.
I remember one night I got up like 9 times in a couple hours. I mean, it was pretty bad.
When he came in our bedroom too, he did say to us,
I was like, Mom, we should probably take me to the doctor.
after looking at him, Paul said, well, let's call the doctor. So we called the pediatrician, and they immediately wrote up a paper and sent us over to Children's Hospital.
I think the average blood glucose rating is in the 80s, and Kyle's was like 800.
Immediately, they took him to the emergency room and confirmed that he does have type 1 diabetes.
When I found out that I was a diabetic, I was in shock. I can't even imagine what it's like for a child that young to find out that he has diabetes. It really is a life-changing thing because you've got to learn new ways to, eat and take care of yourself. You have to change your behaviors. Check your blood glucose levels consistently. Give yourself shots. Always having medical supplies and glucose sources available to you. I wasn't told a lot of these things when I was first diagnosed as a diabetic. I was just given a prescription, told to go fill it and follow the directions. I wasn't told that when I started taking insulin, I could gain weight super fast because instead of urinating out the extra glucose, I'm now storing it as fat. I mean, I gained 100 pounds really quick after I was put on insulin. And I didn't get any help from my doctor at all. He only told me that I was going to be dead soon because I was going to keep gaining weight until I pretty much couldn't move. And died from a heart attack, I guess. He didn't tell me how to manage my weight and exercise and my insulin and all that. It was just, I was basically put into the deep end of this whole mess and told to learn how to swim. Once I finally leveled off with the weight gain and I kind of got my blood glucose levels sort of under control, it was still a really tough road to shed the weight off, and I'm still struggling with it. Just like Kyle here, I didn't need to do a general, diabetes test. That's where they pretty much have you drink this solution that's just full of sugar, and they test to see like how your body reacts to the sugar. It usually takes like an hour, hour and a half, because that's how long it takes for it to take effect. I mean, all they had to do was take my blood glucose reading, and they were just diabetic. Now, it wasn't 800 like Kyle here. It was a little bit less than that, but still. It was pretty bad. Normal glucose levels between 70 and 140.
Even though Kyle has diabetes and his life has changed, he still has the opportunity to live an awesome life. He goes to school and gets to hang out with his friends, but every once in a while he has to prick his finger and check his blood sugar level.
No, you consistently check your sugar every single time you eat. If you're strict about maintaining in between meals as well, it's not an every once in a while thing. This is something you always have to stay on top of.
It would have been easy for Kyle and his family to doubt God's love in such a hard time.
Wait, what? Why would you even say this? God has nothing to do with this at all. If anything, according to your beliefs, God gave Kyle the diabetes. It's part of the Christian dogma for God to know exactly what path lays ahead of you in life. And because God knew you from the womb, and everybody is born or created perfectly in God's image. So I would say that it's totally justifiable for you to question the love of God when, your beliefs teach you that He's responsible for this horrible disease.
But Kyle's family trusts the Bible when it says this in the book of Psalms, chapter 89, verse 2. Your unfailing love will last forever. With that promise from God, Kyle can be sure that God will never stop loving him, in the good times and the bad.
I don't think that giving someone diabetes is a real indication of love. I mean, if this syringe right here was just full of diabetes and I injected it into a child, I would think that you would want to question whether or not I actually love that child. No reasonable person would really think that I loved that child while I was injecting him with some kind of disease.
When this first happened and Kyle was saying, why do I have to have this disease? One of the things that we told him is that God is going to use you for something great and for something bigger.
We know that in all things God works out for good for those who love him.
See, that just sounds abusive to me. It really does. Name one thing that a person with diabetes can do that a person without diabetes can't do. Like I said before, Kyle, you can be an athlete if you want to, or an architect, or an engineer. You could be anything that you want. You can do all of the same things as anybody else. The only difference is that your pancreas is broken. You got to watch what you eat. You got to make sure you exercise, and you got to give yourself insulin. There is no good reason for giving someone diabetes. I don't care what you think God's plan is. If God was all-knowing, then God would definitely know a plan that didn't involve giving someone diabetes.
Since I've had diabetes, I've learned that God can fix you when you're broken or help heal you if you're sick.
Okay, apparently we just have different ideas of what fix means. God hasn't fixed you, Kyle. God has never cured an illness or prevented a disease. Mainly because even if he existed, he's had no demonstrable effect on this reality. The fix that you're referring to being that the insulin that you inject into your body is only a fix because of Frederick Banting and Charles Best. They are the people that injected a diabetic dog with insulin from a non-diabetic dog and saw a demonstrable effect on the diabetic dog's blood glucose level. You need to be thanking the many years of medical research that it took to develop different types of insulin to provide the best kind of care that we can right now. You need to thank the medical scientists that worked tirelessly to provide the level of care for what has become a massive epidemic in America. Thank those people. God had nothing to do with it.
Wow! Isn't it cool to know that even though Kyle was sad when he found out he got diabetes, he still trusts God and trusts that God will take care of him. God will always love you.
We obviously have different definitions of love in this instance. God, at least in your worldview, giving children diabetes, bone cancer, or whatever other horrible diseases you can think of, is not showing love to his creation. If there is an all-knowing God, he should know how to achieve whatever goals he has without giving kids debilitating diseases. You should question whether or not this God loves you, because that really doesn't sound like love to me. Think about the times in your life when you felt loved by another person. Maybe your mom, dad, girlfriend. I make sure that my son knows every single day how much I love him. And more importantly, I show him every single day exactly how much he means to me. I do this by taking care of him, teaching him things, and protecting him, because that's what loving fathers and people in general do. Thank you, heathens, for joining me today. I hope you will share this video out to anybody that is talking about God fixing sick people or anything like that. If you will, leave all of your comments down below. I would love to read them, and I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
I have you now.